Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next hour. Israel identifies the body of Shiri Bibas returned by Hamas, while Hamas releases Israeli hostages and hands over to Red Cross in Gaza in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. US pushes Ukraine to sign critical minerals deal soon. Trump says Zelensky and Putin must get together to end the conflict. Political parties in Germany into the last leg of campaigning for Sunday voting. Polls show mainstream parties losing steam while far right and far left gaining ground. And in Champions Trophy, Ben Duckett and Joe Root steady England innings after early jolts against Australia. 3 lines inch closer to 150 run mark. All right, and Hamas is releasing hostages on Saturday in exchange of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners as part of a hostage prisoner swap under the ongoing Gaza ceasefire deal. Hamas handed over Tal Shoham and Vera Mengistu to representatives of International Committee of Red Cross in Gaza's Rafah. The Israeli army has confirmed receiving both hostages from the Red Cross. The remaining hostages are being handed over at the Nusrat camp as we speak. In return, Israel will release 602 Palestinian prisoners. And here are the latest visuals on your television screens. These 6 hostages were part of the 33 hostages to be freed in the first stage of the ceasefire deal. After this release is concluded, there will be 4 remaining bodies of Israeli captives to be handed over. And that would conclude phase 1 of the ceasefire agreement, which ends on March 1st. The second phase of Gaza truce talks is expected to begin in coming days. These are the visuals on your television screens. These are the live visuals that we are getting for you. The hostage prisoner swap. Hamas is releasing 6 hostages in total in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And these are the live visuals that we are getting for you. Hamas is releasing hostages in exchange of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners as part of hostage prisoner swap under the ongoing Gaza ceasefire deal. And after this release is concluded, there will be 4 remaining bodies of Israeli captives to be handed over, and that would conclude phase 1 of the ceasefire agreement, which ends on 1st of March. All right, and DD India correspondent Jessica Taneja joins us live. Hi Jessica, what is the latest that you're getting for us on this?
Well, you see those visuals playing out on television right now where the hostages are being released from the side of Hamas, as well as expecting Palestinian prisoners as well that have been kept in the side of Israel after the October 7 attacks, considering that there is a bunch of or a group of people that we're expecting to be released later as well. But what we do know about the current negotiations and the exchange of hostages from both the sides, from the Israeli side as well as the Hamas side is that there are negotiations that are currently underway, although they are about a week late, as reports suggest. For the time being, the negotiations that were taking place in Qatar, remember, mediated with the presence of United States of America, Jordan, as well as Qatar, where in Doha they were negotiated, especially when it comes to the first stage of, or the first phase of this ceasefire agreement. Now, the second phase, the reports also suggesting that Hamas has indicated that of the 63 hostages that still remain with Hamas, out of which the Israeli government seem to have suggested that about 32 of them are feared dead, but no confirmed reports to that effect. Not even from Hamas, but the understanding is that there are 63 more hostages remaining with Hamas, and in the next phase, there are indications and negotiations underway which could potentially see the return of all hostages. But it's very speculative at this point, as intense negotiations continue between Hamas and the Israeli side. We will only know to what extent does the next stage go on to be implemented, especially when Hamas seems to have been of the view that there has to be complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Palestine, which would be problematically perhaps a security concern for Israel as well, particularly if we talk about the Philadelphia corridor. So the coming few weeks will be a tense set of negotiations between the two sides, but what we picked up so far and what is being discussed in the extended negotiations when it comes to how to extend this ceasefire beyond just 2 or 3 hostage exchanges in return for Palestinian prisoners, and the 652, or we're getting to know more prisoners that are being released by Israel, would of course have a mix of people who were serving sentences, a life imprisonment as well. And a lot of those were also taken in after the October 7 attack. So those negotiations continue, and these are, remember, very, very complex set of negotiations that have taken place between the two sides. In fact, you should recall that this deal was put in place about 11 months ago, and it's almost going to be a year now since this saw fruition, and there was a potential room for aid flowing into Gaza. All the 2 million people in Gaza still remain displaced and without basic necessities, as their houses, of course, not there anymore. But their rehabilitation effort and post-war construction effort is a far-fetched idea right now.
Okay, Jessica, as the ceasefire nears its expiration, is there any indication that it could be extended?
Well, that we'll know after the outcomes of the talks and the negotiations that are underway. It will be quite premature to comment on that, and frankly very speculative. So we'll have to wait and see on how this process moves forward, especially when those tense negotiations are underway and there are, of course, a lot of counter offers on the table.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Jessica. The body of Israeli hostage Shiri Bibas has been identified at the Institute of Forensic Medicine days after a mistaken handover by Hamas sparked outrage and threatened the fragile Gaza ceasefire. Israeli army radio confirmed that Bibas was likely killed in captivity along with her 2 young sons. Her community says she will be laid to rest in Israel beside them. The handover follows Israel's accusations that Hamas committed a horrific violation by previously sending the wrong body and falsely identifying it as Bibas. All right, and joining me on the broadcast is Ambassador Sanjay Bhattacharya. Ambassador, a very warm welcome to the broadcast. Now, Hamas is releasing 6 hostages in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners and detainees as part of hostage prisoner swap. How do you analyze the entire situation here to begin with?
Well, firstly, this is a long pending issue, the issue between Israel and the Palestinians, and it is most unfortunate that hostages are also involved in this particular situation, because, as you know, the taking of hostages is contrary to the humanitarian law, even in the case of war. So this is most unfortunate. And therefore, while it is very painful to see these pictures, it is also at the same time a sense of relief, I'm sure, for the families who see their loved ones come back. There is a very large number of prisoners of Palestinian origin who are also detained in Israel, many of whom serve long sentences. And what we've noticed is that the Palestinians have been using these as bargaining chips to get some of their political prisoners back to the Palestinian areas. The last time, for instance, we saw that there were about 31 of them who were serving long-term sentences, including Ahmed Barghouti, who's a very, very close ally of one of their political leaders. So what this does show is that the situation is very complex, and it has got into various situations which are not entirely desirable, the taking of hostages and having to deal with them. I must compliment the role of the mediators in this context, the Qataris and the Egyptians in particular, who've played the central role in bringing about this humanitarian reunion. But we do hope that this fragile understanding will last, because the Hamas comes up with various kinds of complaints and sometimes says that it cannot continue with the promised peace settlement understanding of hostage exchange. And we do hope that there is stability in that region so that both feel secure and the people of Palestine can resume their normal lives.
Ambassador, how significant do you think this prisoner exchange is when it comes to a long-term peace agreement?
Yes, as I mentioned, there are actually thousands of prisoners who are held in Israeli in jails. In addition, after the operations began in Gaza and also in the West Bank, there were hundreds of detainees who were taken away from their residences or wherever they were found in Palestinian lands when the Israeli forces came there. So you have two sets of people, one who are prisoners and who have been subjected to a process of law in Israeli courts, and many of whom have also been sentenced. And then you have another set who are essentially not yet charged but have been picked up from Palestinian lands as part of this campaign against the Hamas in Gaza Strip, as well as their operations in the West Bank. And so it becomes a slightly complex issue, whereas the issue about political prisoners is of a different level. Those who are simple detainees and have not yet been charged, they are in a sense similar in content, though not exactly the same. But to have a sense of normalcy, you need to have a cutback on such activities. This is going to be a very, very difficult process, and it'll involve several steps. And I'm convinced that till such time we do not find a solution to this question of settlements, till such time that we do not find a solution to this two-state option, where the Palestinians can rightfully claim that this is their land, this kind of situation, unfortunately, will bring up its head again and again. And the security of the Palestinians and the Israelis, which must be the uppermost thing on their minds, will remain compromised.
Ambassador, body of Israeli hostage Shiri Bibas has been identified now. Earlier, Israel accused Hamas of committing a horrific violation. Can we expect a smooth sail in the second phase? Accusations are still on.
Yes, this is actually an important point that you have mentioned, because many of the hostages are presumably dead, though we have no confirmation of that from the Palestinian side, apart from the ones who have already been exchanged. And it is obviously even more tragic to have the dead bodies of your loved ones be sent back after they've been kept hostage in a foreign land for a period of time. And then to this particular instance that you referred to, there was the added complication that it was not actually the body of Sharir, and it was of somebody else, and it was only through DNA testing that they were able to establish that fact. But thankfully, the Hamas were able to identify the actual body of the victim and to send it. What makes it even more unfortunate and sad is that the children were also part of this. And sometimes these are the kinds of situations that you have to deal with, because while they may have been taken hostage, some of them may also have died while they were in captivity. So it's a very tragic thing. The second phase will be very crucial, because it is understood that maybe almost a majority of the people, the hostages remaining, may not be alive, and therefore we may be talking about dead bodies. And this will bring up all sorts of complicated situations where Hamas might say that the indiscriminate bombing by Israeli forces, which have also affected civilians on the Palestinian side, may have caused some of them to die, or, sometimes their bodies have been misplaced or have not been mistakenly sent back. So some of these things might come up again. But we do hope that this situation can get behind us in the second phase, so that we can move towards a longer stretch of negotiations and diplomacy, where a peace settlement and security assurances can be provided.
Ambassador, do you also think that it will impact the trust between both the sides?
Yes, so this is absolutely central to everything that is going to be done in the next phase of hostage return and the subsequent settlement of the issue, because there has been a statement by President Trump that he is going to convert Gaza into a Riviera, and that the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip can go to Egypt or Jordan. Neither of are willing to accept them, or to other places. As we do know that the Abraham Accords, which Trump had initiated in his first term as president, was actually a wonderful initiative which brought together a future-oriented approach, which brought the Israelis and like-minded Arab states together. And hopefully that kind of rapprochement will be expanded to the other Arab states. And in that sentiment, one would be able to find a settlement for the Palestinian question as well. It is very difficult to imagine a situation where 2 million people from Gaza, and perhaps this might then stretch over to the West Bank as well, that people might have to relocate again to a foreign land. This is something that the Palestinians have rejected, and I can understand their sentiments for that, but I think we have to respect the right of the people to retain their land and their possessions and stay in the land where they belong to.
All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining in on the broadcast.
Thank you.
Emotional scenes in Israel as friends and family broke down in tears watching 40-year-old Tal Shoham and 39-year-old Vera being handed over to the Red Cross by Hamas. Shoham's family gathered at Belinson Hospital in central Israel, anxiously watching the handover live on television. Both hostages are now back in Israel. And still to come on DD India News Hour. UN Security Council urges Rwanda to stop supporting M23. At least 3 people were killed and 74 others injured when the roof of a food court collapsed at the Real Plaza Mall in Trujillo. Stay with us to know more. A powerful snowstorm has blanketed Turkey in thick layers of snow.
We are looking at the phenomenon that is remaking all aspects of life, digital public infrastructure, DPI. What is India's role in the development of DPI, both domestically and globally? And what are India's strengths in this field, and how is India helping to remake the global digital order?
Traditionally, India has always been like, at least for the bigger technology solutions, we've always been takers of technology rather than givers of technology. And I think there is a sense of pride that is associated with taking your technology to the rest of the world.
You're watching DD India News On. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. At the invitation of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen, accompanied by European Union College of Commissioners, will be on an official visit to India from 27th to 28th of February 2025. This will be EU President Ursula von der Leyen's third visit to India. She has earlier visited India for a bilateral official visit in April 2022 and to attend the G20 Leaders Summit in September 2023. Prime Minister Modi and President Ursula von der Leyen have also met regularly on the sidelines of multilateral meetings. During the visit, Prime Minister will hold delegation-level talks with President Ursula von der Leyen. The second ministerial meeting of the India-EU Trade and Technology Council and bilateral ministerial meetings between the European commissioners and their Indian counterparts will also be held during the visit. India and European Union are strategic partners since 2004 and their bilateral ties have expanded and deepened across a wide range of areas. As the two sides enter the third decade of the strategic partnership, the visit of President von der Leyen and the EU College of Commissioners will pave the way for further strengthening of bilateral relations based on growing convergences. Updates now on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Advocating for a quick resolution to the ongoing conflict, US President Donald Trump has called for cooperation between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and emphasized that Russia was open to negotiating a deal. Trump held individual talks with both leaders to discuss the matter. Trump, in office for just a month, is pushing for a quick deal to end the conflict and has alarmed Washington's European allies by leaving them and Ukraine out of initial talks with Russia.
I think that President Putin and President Zelensky are going to have to get together because you know what? We want to stop killing millions of people. You have young soldiers being killed. If you saw the pictures that I saw of the battlefield from satellite, you've never seen any pictures like that.
Further, Trump also flagged that a mineral deal with Ukraine was close.
I think we're pretty close, yeah. I think they want it, and they feel good about it, and it's significant, it's a big deal, but they want it, and it keeps us in that country, and they're very happy about it. But it's we get our money back. This should have been signed long before we went in. This should have been signed by Biden, but Biden didn't know too much about what he was doing. The war should have never happened.
The proposed partnership would give the United States access to Ukraine's deposits of critical minerals. Trump wants Ukraine to give US companies access of minerals as a compensation for the tens of billions of dollars of aid delivered under his predecessor Joe Biden. Meanwhile, Ukraine is seeking security guarantees from the United States in exchange for signing the critical minerals deal. While during his nightly address, Zelensky said that his government was working with Washington on a draft agreement aiming to strengthen weakening relations between the two countries.
The teams of Ukraine and the United States are working on a draft agreement between our governments. This agreement has the potential to strengthen our relations, and most importantly, the details must be arranged in a way that ensures it works. I hope for a fair result.
Germany heads to snap elections on Sunday after the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's coalition. With four key contenders in the race, the outcome will determine Germany's fate and influence Europe's political direction. Take a look at this report.
Germany is set to hold a snap national election on Sunday, February 23rd, following the collapse of Chancellor Olaf Scholz's three-way coalition. The election has triggered extensive debates across the country on topics ranging from the economy and migration to Germany's role in the European Union. With four major contenders vying for the chancellorship, the results will not only determine Germany's future, but also impact the broader European landscape. First up, Friedrich Merz. A seasoned politician, Merz is widely expected to become Germany's next chancellor. Leading the conservative CDU-CSU alliance, Merz is a known advocate for tax cuts and deregulation. His campaign focuses on revitalizing the economy while balancing the conservative base with a push to win back votes from the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD. Next, Alice Weidel of the far-right AfD. Weidel's candidacy has shaken Germany's political dynamics. An economist by training, fluent in Mandarin, Weidel presents a modern face for a party often criticized for its far-right views. Under her leadership, the AfD has gained substantial support by focusing on strict immigration policies and calling for the tighter border controls. Olaf Scholz, of course the incumbent chancellor from the Social Democratic Party, or SPD, is seeking a second term. However, persistent infighting within the coalition and a struggling economy have weakened his position, with polls showing the SPD trailing behind the Conservative and the AfD. Rounding up the list is Robert Habeck of the Greens. Currently serving as Germany's Vice-Chancellor and Economy Minister, Habeck gained popularity by leading the Greens through a successful period of growth. However, his policies on transitioning from fossil fuels to greener alternatives have drawn mixed reactions. Now, as Germany prepares to vote, the world is watching. The key issues dominating the elections include Germany's approach to the war in Ukraine, economic recovery and migration. With Nancy Baloda, Amit Mukherjee for DD India.
The United Nations Security Council on Friday called on Rwanda's military to stop supporting the M23 rebel group in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and immediately withdraw all troops from Congolese territory without preconditions. The 15-member council unanimously adopted a French-drafted resolution urging the DRC and Rwanda to return to diplomatic talks to achieve a lasting, peaceful resolution. The UN resolution strongly condemns the ongoing offensive and advances of the M23 in North Kivu and South Kivu with the support of Rwanda Defense Forces and demands that M23 immediately stop its hostilities and withdraw. France's permanent representative to the UN Ambassador Nicolas Darrivi said the resolution sends a clear message that there is no military solution to the conflict in the east of the DRC.
Les forces rwandaises doivent se retirer.
The Rwandan forces must without delay withdraw from Congolese territory, as has already been declared by the United Nations Secretary General as well as the members of the Security Council. MONUSCO needs to be able to carry out the mandate for the benefit of civilian population without being obstructed in its efforts or its freedom of movement.
De Luanda et Nairobi.
Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Friday called for an immediate ceasefire in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo in a phone conversation with Kenyan President William Ruto. Both leaders discussed the ongoing conflict in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, including the unacceptable capture of Goma and Bukavu by the Rwanda-backed M23 armed group. And a powerful snowstorm has blanketed Turkey in thick layers of snow, creating breathtaking winter landscapes while significantly disrupting daily life. Due to this, transportation within cities ground to a halt, while roads leading to districts and villages became completely impassable. Stranded residents faced difficulties as connections to remote areas were severed. Meanwhile, Istanbul's two main airports were forced to reduce the number of flights as heavy snowfall hampered operations. Let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. At least 3 people were killed and 74 others injured when the roof of a food court collapsed at the Real Plaza Mall in Trujillo, northern Peru, on Friday. Authorities fear the death toll may rise as rescue teams intensify efforts to locate people trapped under the rubble. The Peruvian government has deployed emergency responders to the site and investigations are underway. The Financial Action Task Force, a global anti-money laundering watchdog, announced that it has removed the Philippines from its grey list. Meanwhile, Laos and Nepal have been newly added to the list due to concerns over financial transparency. The world's largest vehicle carrier, Aurora, crossed Panama Canal on Friday. The transit of this huge vessel, which is capable of transporting approximately 9,100 cars, indicated the canal's strategic importance in global maritime trade. And still to come on DD India News Hour. We'll tell you about Delhi University's 101st annual convocation. We'll also tell you about the Elecrama 2025, the flagship event for electrical and power sector. And all the updates related to Mahakumbh 2025.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Prasar Bharati, and a quick recap of the headlines. Israel identifies body of Shiri Bibas returned by Hamas, while Hamas releases 5 of the 6 Israeli hostages and hands over to Red Cross in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. US pushes Ukraine to sign critical minerals deal soon. Trump says Zelensky and Putin must get together to end the conflict. Political parties in Germany into the last leg of campaigning for Sunday voting. Polls show mainstream parties losing steam while far right and far left gaining ground. Mauritius Prime Minister Naveen Ram Ghulam announced that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be joining country's 57th National Day celebrations as the guest of honour. While addressing the parliament, Ram Ghulam said that it would be country's honour to host such a leader despite his very tight schedule and his recent visits to Paris and the United States.
In the context of the celebrations of the 57th anniversary of the independence of our country, I have great pleasure to inform the House that following my invitation, His Excellency Sri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, has kindly agreed. As I said, His Excellency Sri Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, has kindly agreed to be the guest of honor for our National Day celebrations. It is indeed a singular privilege for our country to host such a distinguished personality who is doing us this honor in spite of his very tight schedule and in spite of his recent visits to Paris and the United States. He has agreed to be here as our special guest. The visit of Sri Modi is a testimony of the close relations between our two nations.
The country will celebrate its National Day on March 12. Last year, President Draupadi Murmu participated in the 56th National Day celebrations of Mauritius as the chief guest. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi will share his thoughts with the people of the country and abroad in Mann Ki Baat program on 23rd of February at 11 a.m. IST. It will be the 119th episode of the monthly radio program. The program will be broadcast on the entire network of Akashvani and Doordarshan, the AIR News website and the News on Air mobile app. It will also be live streamed on the YouTube channels of AIR News, DD News, PMO and the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. Akashvani will broadcast the program in regional languages immediately after the Hindi broadcast. Delhi University organized its 101st annual convocation on Saturday, and Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan attended the event as the chief guest. At the event, a total of 84,287 students, including 77,446 undergraduates, 6,812 postgraduates, 29 5-year program and 494 PhD scholars were conferred degrees. Speaking at the event, he also urged the youth to contribute with their best to make India a developed nation by 2047.
आज भारत की 60% आबादी युवाओं की है। 60% पॉपुलेशन 35 साल के नीचे की नौजवानों की है। आज भारत की सर्वश्रेष्ठ यूनिवर्सिटी में मैं खड़ा होकर अपेक्षा रखता हूं, भारत की नई पीढ़ी के सामने, भारत की नौजवानों के सामने हमें प्रधानमंत्री जी की जो आह्वान है, हमें अपना कर्तव्य निभाना है। भारत को 2047 तक विकसित भारत में परिवर्तित करना है। हमें तब ये संभव हो पाएगा अगर दिल्ली विश्वविद्यालय के नेतृत्व में हम देश में राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को लागू कर पाएंगे।
India's Union Power Minister Manohar Lal inaugurated Electrama 2025, the flagship event for electrical and power sector at India Expo Mart in Greater Noida. The 5-day summit brings together industry leaders, innovators and policymakers from around the world. The event, into its 16th edition, sees 75 countries and 450 global buyers take part in powering the future of energy. The Energy and Power Symbiosis serves as a premier platform for showcasing cutting-edge technologies, fostering business collaborations and shaping the future of the electrical industry. While speaking at the summit, Union Minister Manohar Lal also spoke about India's growth in renewable and solar energy.
रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी 2014 से लेकर और अभी 10 साल में हम 200 से ऊपर गीगावाट आनी इस समय हमारी कैपेसिटी हो गई है, एंड which is 2.81 times in this last decade. 2.81 times ये हमारी प्रोग्रेस, ये अपने आप में कुछ इबारत लिखती है। कोई एक इस विषय पर हमको जरूर ध्यान रखना चाहिए। एंड सोलर एनर्जी एज फार एज इट कंसर्न, इसमें हमने इन 10 सालों में 38 टाइम्स हमने ग्रोथ की है।
The Indian Army contingent departed on Saturday for 6th edition of India-Japan joint military exercise Dharma Guardian. The exercise is scheduled to be conducted in East Fuji Maneuver Training Area of Japan from 24th of February to 9th of March. Exercise Dharma Guardian is an annual event conducted alternatively in India and Japan. Last edition of same exercise was conducted in Rajasthan in February-March 2024. The Indian contingent, comprising 120 personnel, will be represented mainly by troops from a battalion of the Madras Regiment. Aim of the exercise is to enhance interoperability between the two forces. The exercise will focus on high degree of physical fitness, joint planning and joint tactical drills. Exercise Dharma Guardian reinforces the India-Japan relationship as a cornerstone of regional cooperation, fostering strong military-to-military ties and promoting cultural understanding. The Mahakumbh 2025 in Prayagraj has drawn an overwhelming number of devotees to the sacred Triveni Sangam, the confluence of river Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati, displaying unwavering faith and devotion. More than 590 million pilgrims have already taken the holy dip, seeking spiritual purification and blessings. People from across India and the world continue to arrive daily, making Mahakumbh a global spiritual spectacle. The Mahakumbh 2025 is not just a religious gathering, but a reflection of the rich spiritual heritage and enduring faith of millions. As sacred waters of Triveni Sangam witness history, the event continues to inspire devotion, unity and cultural pride. With the final bathing festival of Mahakumbh 2025 set to take place on Mahashivratri on February 26, marking the conclusion of the 45-day, once-in-a-12-year fair, officials have ramped up preparations to ensure seamless arrangements for devotees. Acting on Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath's directives, Chief Secretary Manoj Kumar Singh and DGP Prashant Kumar visited Mahakumbh Nagar on Friday to review the arrangements and provide necessary instructions to officials. At the same time, the state government is closely monitoring attempts to disrupt the sanctity of Mahakumbh through misleading social media posts. India is a land of multiple ethnicities, and one such ethnic group is Sonowal Khacharis. It is the third largest indigenous community of the northeast Indian state of Assam. DD India gives you a sneak peek into one of their most revered festival, Lakshmi Choloni Sabha.
It is an auspicious day for the Sonowal Khacharis as they celebrate the Lakshmi Tuloni Sabha at their native village. The Sonwal Kacharis are the third largest indigenous people of the state of Assam in northeast India. The name Sonwal comes from the Assamese word hon, which means gold. The traditional occupation of the Sonwal was panning for gold during the Ahom kingdom. Lokmi Hobha is one of the most revered festivals. The Sonwals believe, as per mythology, that goddess Lakshmi originated from the Samudra Manthan, and therefore the Sonwals visit rivers to receive goddess Lakshmi and take her to their worship place, that is Namghor. The Sonwal women, who are expert weavers of cotton, carry their weaving reels to the rivers to invite the goddess.
इसीलिए बनाया जाता है लक्ष्मी को पाने के लिए। लक्ष्मी तो सागर में डूबा हुआ है, उसको सागर से उठाने के लिए ये समतल बना करके क्या बोलते हैं पानी से उठा करके अपने दूल्हा में भर के लेके आते हैं नामघर में। नामघर से सबको ये वितरण करते हैं। लक्ष्मी का ये उद्देश्य यही है।
After the rituals are performed on the river, it is time that the villagers now carry the goddess on dola, and the road is laid with silver and gold, which is signified by the weave strings and the rice powders that are strewn on the pathways. The villagers sing, dance and make merry while bringing the goddess to the Namghor where she is worshipped. As modern times continue to fade cultural traditions, the Sonwal Kacharis continue to uphold their age-old traditions through Lokmi Tuloni Hobha. Assam is not just rich in its natural beauty, but also rich in culture, as many indigenous people reside here in Assam. And one such tribe is Sonwal Kachari tribe, which is the third largest tribe of Assam. And today we are here at one of their festivities out here. And as you can see, it is Lokumi Tula Hoba, and where they are celebrating peace and prosperity for the coming year. With DDK Dibrugarh team, Sabina Roy, DD India.
Let's take a look at other stories making news. Despite over 60 crore visitors and countless holy dips during Mahakumbh, the Ganga remains completely germ-free. According to a study conducted by leading scientists, it reveals that Ganga is the world's only freshwater river where 1100 types of bacteriophages naturally purify water by eliminating pollution. Padma Shri awardee Dr. Ajay Sonkar likens Ganga's power to seawater, crediting its bacteriophages for eliminating pollution and harmful bacteria before vanishing themselves. Cold wave continues in Jammu and Kashmir as Doda receives fresh spell of snowfall. A mesmerizing white landscape enveloped Doda as fresh snowfall transformed the lush green terrain into a pristine winter wonderland. India's Madhya Pradesh becomes the state with the highest number of vultures in the country. In recent state-level census of vultures conducted by Forest Department, the number of vultures has increased to 12,981. This marks a significant increase compared to previous years, reflecting successful conservation efforts and favorable habitats within the state. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Yoga, the ancient Indian exercise, is quite popular in Brazil's Sao Paulo. Stay with us to know more. Teenager Mira Andreeva becomes youngest player to reach final of Women's Tennis Association 1000 tournament at the Dubai Championships. World Anti-Doping Agency drops its lawsuit against the US counterpart.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Yoga, the ancient Indian exercise, is quite popular in Brazil's Sao Paulo. Thanks to Professor Marcos Arroyo Rodrigues, who has been teaching yoga for the last over 3 decades in Sao Paulo. Due to his ceaseless efforts, Marcos was conferred with Prime Minister's Award for Outstanding Contribution towards the development and promotion of yoga in 2021. DD India correspondent Shobhan Saxena files this special report.
Sao Paulo is the biggest city in South America. It is also the financial capital of Brazil. The city is also known as the yoga capital of South America. The city of 11 million people has hundreds of yoga schools spread across the city. Yoga schools like this. In these yoga schools, thousands of people learn yoga and Indian meditation practices every year. Professor Marcos Arroyo Rodrigues from Sao Paulo is a pioneer of yoga in Brazil. He's been teaching yoga to Brazilians since 1980s. Recently, he has been conferred with the Prime Minister's Award for Outstanding Contribution towards the development and promotion of yoga in Brazil.
I'm very proud to be recognized by the government of India with these awards. It will help us a lot. We are doing a lot of work in São Paulo. São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil. It's a stressful city, and it will motivate us to develop more and more yoga. I started practicing yoga in the School of Physical Education in 1975. Since then, I love yoga. And then I decided to practice more and more. And my teacher insisted me go to India to learn because we didn't have good courses of yoga in Brazil. And then I came to India. I learned yoga in Kaivalyadam. Kaivalyadam is in the city of Lonavala, a small city close to Mumbai. I enjoy a lot. I came with my wife. I loved the people, I loved yoga, I felt India as my second home.
Professor Rodrigues works with various institutions like universities, hospitals, and cultural centers across the city and around Brazil. He is quite popular and respected among his students for his knowledge and wisdom about yoga and meditative practices from India.
I started in the University of São Paulo, is the main university in Brazil, in South America. I was teaching yoga for 35 years, now I'm retired. And since from the university, we started to work in the hospitals. We are now in the main hospitals in São Paulo, teaching yoga for the patients. Also, we start yoga in some schools, some jails and prisons, and we are helping a lot in the research in yoga for us to be connected with doctors, to be connected with the academic way to think is very important. Then we are doing some research, we are helping some people also in prisons, and we hope to develop more and more.
The Prime Minister's Award to Professor Marcos Arroyo has made the community of yoga practitioners in Brazil very happy. They're very excited and hopeful that now the Indian yoga and meditation practices are going to grow more in the biggest South American country. This is Shobhan Saxena for DD from Sao Paulo in Brazil.
You're watching DD India News Hour. Time now for sport, and Ben Duckett and Joe Root are solid at the crease after their respective 50s as 2 down England are in complete control against Australia in their Champions Trophy match on Saturday. Duckett and Root helped 3 Lions recover from 43 for 2 5.2 overs. Ben has picked the 2 wickets that have fallen so far. Earlier, Australia skipper Steve Smith won the toss and elected to bowl in their campaign opener. Australia drafted in wicket-keeper batter Alex Carey in the middle order despite having another stumper in Josh Inglis. And the history between the 2 cricketing giants, India and Pakistan, dates back to 1952 when they played their first test match. Their first ODI meeting came in 1978, followed by their first T20 encounter in 2007. Let's take a look at the history of arch rivals in the Champions Trophy ahead of their thrilling clash on Sunday.
The Champions Trophy has witnessed some iconic India vs Pakistan clashes. They have met 5 times in the tournament's history, with Pakistan leading the head-to-head record 3-2. India's first meeting with Pakistan came in the 2004 edition in Birmingham. Sent in to bat first, it was Rahul Dravid's 67-run inning and Ajit Agarkar's 47 that helped India put up 200 all out. In reply, Pakistan were caught off guard early on thanks to Irfan Pathan's 3 wickets, but Inzamam-ul Haq and Mohammad Yusuf propelled the team home in 49.2 overs. Shoaib Malik headlined Pakistan's win over India during the second meeting at the Champions Trophy in Centurion in 2009. Batting first, Pakistan rode on Shoaib Malik's 128 and Mohammad Yusuf's 87 to put 302 runs in 50 overs. For India, Ashish Nehra took 4 wickets. In response, India fell short by 54 runs despite half-centuries from Gautam Gambhir and Rahul Dravid. Down by 0-2 in the head-to-head record, it was India's time to reduce the deficit in Birmingham in 2013. Led by captain MS Dhoni, the Indian bowlers did a splendid job in restricting Pakistan to 165 in 39.2 overs. With rain playing spoilsport, India was set a revised target of 102 runs in 22 overs. Shikhar Dhawan led the chase with a knock of 48 runs while Virat Kohli remained unbeaten at 22 as India won the game by 8 wickets. India made it 2-2 4 years later, once again in the United Kingdom. Batting first, India were off to a flyer with Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan setting the platform with a 136-run stand for the opening wicket. Virat Kohli's 81 not out and Yuvraj Singh's 32 ball 53 took the men in blue to 319 in 50 overs. In reply, Pakistan were all out for 164 in 33.4 overs. Making their second consecutive final, India were clear favourites against Pakistan in the summit clash at the Oval. But the Virat Kohli-led India went on back foot with some magnificent hitting from Centurion Fakhar Zaman and Azhar Ali's 59 as Pakistan posted 338 in their 50 overs. In reply, the scoreboard pressure took a heavy toll on the Indian batters as they fell like 9 pins except Hardik Pandya, whose 76 proved too little for the Indian team. Beyond the statistics, this match holds a significant importance. As the Champions Trophy returns after a long time, the stakes are at an all-time high. With intense moments and unforgettable matches, another exciting chapter will be added to the intense India vs Pakistan rivalry. With cameraman Anil, this is Meher Raj Singh for DD India, Delhi.
Argentinian Francisco Comesaña stunned world number 2 Alexander Zverev on Friday with a 4-6, 6-3, 6-4 win in the quarterfinals of Rio Open. Comesaña turned heads in his Grand Slam debut match last year when he handed 6th seed Andrei Rublev a first-round exit from Wimbledon. Friday's win in Rio de Janeiro is 24-year-old's first victory over the top 5 ranked opponent. Zverev landed 3 aces as he won the first set, but Comesaña fought back, converting 2 break points to win the second. Comesaña will face Alexandra Muller in the semi-finals on Saturday. Teenager Mira Andreeva has become the youngest player to reach final of Women's Tennis Association 1000 tournament at Dubai Championships. Andreeva will face Clara Tauson in the final on Saturday. In the semi-final, the Russian 17-year-old fought back from 1-3 down in deciding set to beat Elena Rybakina 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 and move into the first final of her career. Andreeva had stunned 5 times Grand Slam champion Iga Swiatek in the quarters and former Wimbledon winner Marketa Vondrousova in the round of 32. Tauson moved past Karolina Muchova 6-4, 6-7, 6-3 in another semi-final. 22-year-old Tauson has knocked out world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka in the last 16. She is now through to the biggest final of her career and 5th overall. The World Anti-Doping Agency has dropped its lawsuit against the US counterpart in a dispute involving 23 Chinese swimmers who failed drug tests in the lead-up to the Tokyo Olympics. Reports of the positive tests led to a war of words between the two agencies, and an investigation by Swiss prosecutor claimed that WADA had not shown favoritism or complacency toward China. US Anti-Doping Agency had argued that the swimmers should have been provisionally suspended and blasted WADA for alleged lack of transparency. WADA said it was vindicated by Cotier's findings. Delhi police have organized a walkathon in the city on Saturday to make people aware of the menace of drugs. Hundreds of people participated in the event named Delhi Police Week. Chief of Delhi Police Crime Branch Devesh Chandra Srivastava was the chief guest. Prominent sportspersons such as wrestler Ravi Daya, who won a silver medal at the Tokyo Olympics, lent his support to the cause. People were not only made aware of ill effects of drugs but were also encouraged to play an important role in building a healthy society by staying away from drugs.
पुलिस कर्मचारियों ने हर रैंक ने इसमें भाग लिया और इसके साथ साथ आपने देखा कि आम जनता ने भी काफ़ी जोश के साथ इसमें भाग लिया। जागरूकता फैलाना है, लोगों को नशे के खिलाफ एकजुट करना है, तो उसमें हम काफ़ी हद तक इस प्रयास में अपने सफल रहे।
That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.